Dee Dee Moore will spend the rest of her life in prison of killing Abraham Shakespeare to get and keep his lottery winnings.
Have you ever dreamed of hitting the jackpot, picturing yourself living a life of luxury and endless possibilities? Well, before you start planning how to spend your millions, you might want to hear the jaw-dropping stories of some of the unluckiest lottery winners of all time. These aren't just tales of lost fortunes, they're gripping sagas of betrayal, legal battles, and tragic downfalls that will leave you questioning whether winning the lottery is a blessing or a curse. From millionaires facing murder plots and lawsuits, to sudden wealth leading to addiction and bankruptcy, these real-life stories are as fascinating as they are heartbreaking. Jack Whittaker, from riches to ruin. In December 2002, Jack Whittaker's life changed forever when he won one of the largest Powerball jackpots in history, $315 million. The West Virginia construction company owner was already a self-made millionaire, but the lottery win thrust him into the national spotlight and promised an unimaginable future of wealth and luxury. However, what followed was a cautionary tale of how sudden fortune can lead to unforeseen consequences, heartache, and tragedy. On Christmas Eve 2002, Whittaker purchased the winning quick pick ticket at a supermarket in Hurricane, West Virginia, where he had stopped for a deli breakfast sandwich and to get fuel for his vehicle. He was not a regular lottery player but bought $100 in tickets because the jackpot was so high. He played the lottery only when it reached $100 million. Whittaker, known for his work ethic and community involvement, became an instant celebrity. He generously pledged 10% of his winnings to Christian charities, donated large sums to his church, including several churches affiliated with the Church of God in southern West Virginia. One of the beneficiary congregations even constructed a multi-million-dollar church in Hurricane. Then he established the Jack Whittaker Foundation, which aimed to help the less fortunate by providing food and clothing to low-income families in rural West Virginia. Moreover, for the deli manager who served the biscuits at the convenience store where he purchased the winning ticket, he purchased a $123,000 house and a new Jeep Grand Cherokee and gave her a check for $44,000. His philanthropy earned him widespread admiration, and he was hailed as a hero in his hometown. Whittaker's initial generosity also extended to his personal life. He bought a new house, luxury cars, and lavish gifts for his family and friends. His favorite granddaughter, Brandy Bragg, became the center of his world. He showered her with money, cars, and a monthly allowance of $5,000. However, this unrestrained generosity soon began to sow the seeds of destruction. As Whittaker's wealth grew, so did his problems. His newfound fortune attracted the wrong kind of attention. In 2003, he was robbed of $545,000 when thieves broke into his car while he was at a strip club. When asked why he would carry that much money around with him, Whittaker responded, "Because I can." Later that year, 2 employees of the same club were arrested for allegedly drugging him and stealing an additional $200,000. These incidents were just the beginning of a series of misfortunes that would plague Whittaker. On top of that, the pressure of managing such vast wealth began to take its toll on Whittaker and his family. Brandy Bragg, once a bright and happy teenager, struggled to cope with the sudden influx of money and attention. She began experimenting with drugs and fell into a dangerous lifestyle. In 2004, Brandy's boyfriend was found dead from a drug overdose at Whittaker's home. Just 3 months later, Brandy herself was found dead under suspicious circumstances, wrapped in a tarp and dumped behind a junked van. Her death devastated Whittaker and marked a turning point in his life. Whittaker's personal life continued to unravel as he faced numerous legal battles. He was sued by a casino for bouncing $1.5 million worth of checks to cover gambling losses. His construction business also began to suffer, and he found himself embroiled in lawsuits and financial disputes. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Whittaker admitted to struggling with alcohol and prescription drug abuse. Despite his initial intentions to use his winnings for good, Whittaker's story became a tragic example of how money can bring out the worst in people. He once lamented, "Since I won the lottery, I think there is no control for greed. I think if you have something, there's always someone else who wants it. I wish I'd torn that ticket up." His wealth had become a curse, destroying his family, his reputation, and his peace of mind. In interviews, Whittaker expressed deep regret over how his life had turned out post-lottery win. He acknowledged his mistakes, particularly in how he handled the responsibility of sudden wealth. The man who once dreamed of using his fortune to help others found himself isolated, grieving, and broken. His tragic journey serves as a stark reminder that money cannot buy happiness or shield one from life's harsh realities. Abraham Shakespeare, a tragic story of trust and betrayal. Imagine this, you're a humble, hard-working man, scraping by day to day, and then, boom, you win the lottery, a staggering $30 million. It's the kind of life-altering fortune that most people can only dream of. This was the reality for Abraham Shakespeare, a quiet man from Frostproof, Florida, who struck gold in 2006. But what should have been a ticket to a better life quickly spiraled into a nightmare of deceit, manipulation, and murder. Shakespeare was no stranger to hard work. He had spent years doing manual labor, often struggling to make ends meet. This winning ticket worth $30 million was sold at a Town Star convenience store in Frostproof, Florida on November 15th, 2006. On that day, Abraham Lee Shakespeare and co-worker Michael Ford were headed toward Miami when they stopped briefly at the convenience store in Frostproof to buy drinks and cigarettes. Ford got out of the truck and asked Shakespeare if he wanted a soda. Shakespeare instead asked Ford to buy him 2 lottery tickets, out of which he paid Ford $2 for the tickets out of the $5 he had on him that day. So, when he won the $30 million jackpot, it seemed like a godsend. He chose the lump sum payout, receiving $17 million after taxes, a life-changing amount for anyone, let alone a man of modest means. Ford later approached Shakespeare, demanding a share of the jackpot of no less than $1 million, which Shakespeare refused to pay, prompting Ford to sue Shakespeare, stating that Shakespeare stole lottery tickets out of Ford's wallet. The jury did not believe Ford's stolen lottery ticket story, and Shakespeare won in the courts, after which he moved out of his humble neighborhood in Lakeland, Florida, and into a gated community. Several months after his lottery win, apart from a $1 million home, his only other major purchases included a Nissan Altima and a Rolex watch from a pawn shop. But then here is where things started to go wrong. His friends stated Shakespeare was growing frustrated with the constant appeals for money from both acquaintances and strangers. He told his brother, "I'd have been better off broke," and told a childhood friend, "I thought all these people were my friends, but then I realized all they want is just money." This made him a target for those with less honorable intentions. Among them was Doris Dee Moore, a woman who would ultimately prove to be his undoing. She launched a business with Shakespeare by the name of Abraham Shakespeare LLC and gave herself control of the firm's funds. Then she withdrew $1 million and bought herself a Hummer, a Chevrolet Corvette, and a truck before going on vacation. She later claimed that the money was a gift from Shakespeare. Dee Moore was a savvy and manipulative woman who saw Shakespeare's fortune as her opportunity. She befriended him, posing as someone who wanted to help him manage his money. She convinced him to transfer his assets to her control, promising to help him protect his wealth from those who sought to take advantage of him. Little did Shakespeare know, Moore's intentions were anything but altruistic. But here is where things take a very twisted turn. In April 2009, Abraham Shakespeare vanished without a trace. Moore spun a web of lies to explain his absence, telling people he had grown tired of his newfound wealth and wanted to escape the pressure and attention. She even went so far as to send texts from Shakespeare's phone, pretending to be him. Family and friends had originally hoped that he had taken his money and was living on a beach in the Caribbean Sea, but as weeks turned into months, suspicions grew among Shakespeare's friends and family. The truth finally came to light in January 2010. A tip-off led investigators to the backyard of a home purchased by Moore, where authorities found Abraham Shakespeare's body buried under a concrete slab in the backyard of Moore's boyfriend's house. The once kind-hearted man who had given so much to others had been brutally murdered, his life snuffed out for the very money that was supposed to bring him happiness and security. Dee Moore was arrested and charged with Shakespeare's murder. The trial revealed the extent of her greed and manipulation. She had drained Shakespeare's bank accounts, sold off his assets, and even used his money to buy herself luxury cars and properties. In December 2012, Moore was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Before the police found Shakespeare's body, Moore claimed that Shakespeare had decided to leave town and had gone to Texas, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, or Orlando, Florida, or was sick in a hospital. Her story also included the fact that Shakespeare was tired of people asking him for money, so she helped him leave town. Moore even went as far as telling the police different versions of what happened, from blaming drug dealers, a lawyer, even her 14-year-old son, to saying that she killed Shakespeare in self-defense. And this isn't all, because soon after the disappearance of Shakespeare, Moore was living in Shakespeare's house and kept using his cell phone to send text messages to his friends and relatives, pretending she was him to keep her lies alive. Recipients thought the text didn't sound like him and were suspicious because he was illiterate. Plus, when people texted Shakespeare's phone back with questions that could not be answered by Moore, no response was given. She even tried to find a person who would take the blame for Shakespeare's death for $50,000 and also offered to pay someone to dig up and move Shakespeare's body to another location. Abraham Shakespeare's tragic story is a powerful reminder of the dark side of sudden wealth. His tale is one of misplaced trust, unchecked generosity, and the ruthless greed of those who prey on the vulnerable. It's a stark warning that winning the lottery, while seemingly a dream come true, can quickly turn into a nightmare if one isn't careful about who they trust and how they manage their newfound fortune. The cautionary tale of Evelyn Adams, from winning twice to losing it all. Winning the lottery once is a dream come true. Winning it twice seems like something out of a fairy tale. For Evelyn Adams, a New Jersey native, this improbable dream became reality when she won the lottery not once but twice in 1985 and 1986. Her total winnings amounted to a staggering $5.4 million, making her the first person in the history of the New Jersey lottery to win multiple million-dollar jackpot prizes. However, her story serves as a cautionary tale that even the greatest fortunes can be squandered with poor choices and a bit of bad luck. Evelyn Adams defied the astronomical odds by winning 2 New Jersey lottery jackpots in consecutive years. The odds of this happening were beyond comprehension, about 1 in 17 trillion. Evelyn had been playing the lottery since its inception in 1971, initially spending $25 a week on tickets. She later increased her spending on tickets to more than $100 a week until she hit the jackpot. Adams, who was a convenience store clerk at the time, instantly became a local celebrity. Her incredible luck made headlines and sparked a media frenzy. With millions in her bank account, Adams embraced her newfound wealth with enthusiasm. After winning her first jackpot, she paid off some bills and set up a college fund for her daughter, and even shared her good fortune with friends and family, making generous gifts and donations. But like many lottery winners, Adams quickly fell into the trap of reckless spending. She indulged in a lavish lifestyle, buying designer clothes, expensive cars, and luxury vacations. She had planned to marry her fiancé, who owned the convenience store she worked at, and also hoped to use her winnings to return to school and study music, with dreams of one day opening a music store. 7 years after her double win, Evelyn and her fiancé were married, and his store, which had become popular with lottery ticket buyers, hoping some of her luck would rub off on them, was sold. Adams was no stranger to gambling before her lottery wins. However, with millions at her disposal, her occasional visits to Atlantic City's casinos turned into a full-blown addiction. She spent countless hours and enormous sums of money at the slot machines and gaming tables. Her frequent trips to the casino became so notorious that she earned a reputation among the staff and regular patrons. In addition to her gambling, Adams's generosity also contributed to her financial downfall. She found it difficult to say no to those who asked for help, and as word spread of her lottery winnings, she was inundated with requests for financial assistance. Adams also told the New York Times in 1993 that the publicity she received led to a bombardment of requests for financial assistance. "I was known," she said, "and I couldn't go anywhere without being recognized." Loans to friends and family members, many of which were never repaid, further drained her bank account. Despite her seemingly endless fortune, Adams began to realize that her money was running out. The lavish lifestyle, gambling losses, and unreciprocated generosity took their toll. By the early 2000s, the woman who had once been a multi-millionaire found herself in dire financial straits. Her story of extraordinary luck had transformed into a cautionary tale of financial mismanagement. Reflecting on her experience, Adams expressed deep regret over her decisions. She admitted that she had not been prepared for the sudden influx of wealth and the challenges that came with it. In interviews, she spoke candidly about the mistakes she made and the lessons she learned. She wished she had sought better financial advice and been more cautious with her spending and generosity. She recalled, "Winning the lottery isn't always what it's cracked up to be. I won the American dream, but I lost it too. It was a very hard fall. It's called rock bottom." Evelyn acknowledged some mistakes in giving her money away too freely, but said the bulk of her mistakes came later. At some point after her incredible wins, she developed a gambling addiction. Spending much of her winnings at the tables in Atlantic City, combined with bad investments and personal spending, saw her cash flow quickly drying up. Evelyn Adams' story did not end with her financial ruin. She continued to live in New Jersey, adapting to a more modest lifestyle. And by modest, I mean living in a trailer park. While her lottery winnings were gone, she remained a resilient figure determined to rebuild her life. Her tale serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of financial literacy and the perils of sudden wealth. The rise and fall of Callie Rogers, a teenage millionaire. Imagine being 16 years old and suddenly becoming a millionaire overnight. For most teenagers, this would seem like a dream come true, but for Callie Rogers, a young girl from Cumbria, England, winning the UK National Lottery's £1.9 million jackpot in 2003 was both a blessing and a curse. Her story is a gripping tale of youthful exuberance, reckless spending, and the harsh realities of sudden wealth. Callie Rogers was a typical 16-year-old working as a checkout girl, earning £3.60 an hour when her life changed forever. The moment her lottery numbers were announced, she went from a modest life to unimaginable wealth. She was thrust into the public eye, becoming one of the youngest lottery winners in history. The media frenzy around her win was intense, and her name was splashed across headlines worldwide. With millions at her disposal, Callie embraced her newfound fortune with the exuberance of youth. She purchased a lavish home, designer clothes, and several luxury cars. She also spent large sums on vacations and cosmetic surgeries alone of £18,000. Her generosity extended to friends and family, whom she showered with gifts and financial help, for example buying a bungalow for her mother. But behind the glamorous facade, trouble was brewing. Callie's sudden wealth brought with it a huge number of problems. Her spending spiraled out of control, and she found herself surrounded by people eager to take advantage of her generosity. She began to struggle with the pressures and expectations that came with her fortune. The once happy-go-lucky teenager fell into a cycle of depression and anxiety, exacerbated by the scrutiny of the media and public. She later described her winnings as a curse and said that she battled depression during the pressure of winning and even tried to take her own life. She added, "Not knowing who liked me for me and having all the stress of all the money, I just wanted to go back to having a normal life. I still struggle with trust issues." The pressures of her new lifestyle took a toll on Callie's mental health, leading her to seek solace in drugs and alcohol. She developed a cocaine addiction, spending more than $300,000 on the drug. Her relationships began to crumble, and she experienced the painful reality that not everyone who surrounded her had her best interests at heart. Once she even crashed her car while on cocaine was pepper sprayed. She refused to provide a breath sample and appeared at Workington Magistrates Court, where she was banned from getting behind the wheel for 22 months and given an 11-week curfew. Then, in 2018, she feared she was going to die when two women assaulted her after a night out. Rogers suffered broken ribs, smashed teeth, concussion, and permanent damage to her sight following the attack. In the midst of her struggles, Callie met and fell in love with Nikki Lawson, with whom she had 2 children. For a time, it seemed as though she had found stability and happiness. However, the pressures of her past decisions continued to haunt her. Her relationship with Lawson eventually fell apart, adding to the emotional and financial strain she was already under. By 2013, a decade after her big win, Callie's fortune had all but vanished. She had spent her entire winnings and was left with nothing. She faced legal battles over unpaid bills and debts, and her mental health continued to suffer. The once wealthy teenager found herself struggling as a single mother to make ends meet, living on welfare and working as a cleaner to support her children. Despite the hardships, Callie Rogers emerged from her experiences with a renewed sense of purpose. She became an advocate for responsible lottery winnings and financial education, sharing her story to warn others about the pitfalls of sudden wealth. In interviews, she spoke candidly about her mistakes and the lessons she learned. She expressed a desire to provide a stable and loving environment for her children, determined to move forward from her troubled past. About her children, she said, "I'm glad they'll grow up knowing the value of money," she told the Sun. "I was too young to win the lottery, it nearly broke me, but thankfully, I'm now stronger than ever." Callie Rogers' story is a powerful reminder of the challenges that come with sudden wealth, especially for those who are young and inexperienced. Her journey from teenage millionaire to financial ruin highlights the importance of financial literacy, responsible spending, and the need for a strong support system. It's a cautionary tale that underscores how quickly fortune can turn into misfortune if not handled wisely. William Bud Post. In 1988, William Bud Post's life changed overnight when he won $16.2 million in the Pennsylvania lottery. This staggering windfall should have been the start of a life filled with comfort and ease. Instead, it marked the beginning of a tumultuous journey filled with betrayal, legal battles, and financial ruin. Bud Post's story is a gripping narrative that illustrates how sudden wealth can sometimes bring more harm than good. Mr. Post, born in Erie, Pennsylvania, had a hard luck life. His mother died when he was 8 years old, and his father later sent him to an orphanage. Most of his life, he was little more than a drifter, working as a spray painter on pipelines and as a laborer, cook and truck driver in circuses and carnivals. He never owned a home or a new car and once served a 28-day jail sentence for passing bad checks. Bud Post was a humble man living on disability payments and doing odd jobs to make ends meet when he won the lottery. He told newspaper reporters that on the day he bought his winning lottery ticket in 1988, he was on disability and his bank account totaled $2.46. He pawned a ring for $40 and handed Ann Carpick, his landlady and occasional girlfriend, the cash for 40 tickets in the state lottery. Among the tickets was the winning one. Like many winners, he dreamed of a better life free from financial worries. He chose the lump sum payment, which amounted to about $10 million after taxes. With his winnings, Post bought a mansion, cars, boats, and even a twin-engine airplane, despite not having a pilot's license. However, Post's joy was short-lived. In the 2 weeks after Mr. Post collected the first of his 26 annual payments of $497,953.47, he spent more than $300,000, and just like that, within 3 months, he was $500,000 in debt. His winnings also seemed to bring out the worst in those around him. You won't believe it, but his own brother tried to hire a hitman to kill him and his wife, hoping to inherit a portion of the fortune. Although the plot was foiled, it deeply shook Post and added a layer of paranoia and distrust to his life. Post's troubles didn't end there. His ex-girlfriend sued him for a third of his winnings, claiming he had promised her part of the money. She won the case, adding significant legal fees to Post's growing list of expenses. She claimed that they had agreed to split any winnings, which Mr. Post vigorously denied. After 3 years, a judge ruled that he owed her 1/3 of all the proceeds, but Mr. Post was unable to pay. When he refused to turn over his 1992 annual payment to satisfy the judgment, the judge ordered all of his lottery payments frozen until the dispute was resolved. Family members also came out of the woodwork, each demanding their share of the fortune. Post was embroiled in numerous lawsuits, each one chipping away at his finances and peace of mind. Post's lack of financial acumen exacerbated his problems. He made a series of poor investments, including sinking money into a car business and a restaurant, both of which failed. He also lent large sums to friends and family, most of which were never repaid. Despite his substantial winnings, Post quickly found himself in dire financial straits. He sank into debt and spent time in jail for firing a gun over the head of a bill collector. By the early 1990s, less than 5 years after his lottery win, Post was $1 million in debt and declared bankruptcy. His lavish lifestyle and the constant demands for money had drained his resources. The mansion and other luxury items were sold off to pay debts, and Post found himself back where he started, struggling to make ends meet. He sold off most of his acquisitions. Visitors to his crumbling mansion noted shattered windows, missing shower stalls, a swimming pool filled with debris, an old car on blocks in the weedy yard, and a malfunctioning security system that chirped 6 times every 60 seconds. In the final years of his life, Post lived modestly, relying on Social Security and a small pension. He moved into a modest home in Pennsylvania, far from the mansion and luxury he once enjoyed. Despite his financial ruin, Post remained a colorful character, often reflecting on his lottery win with a mix of regret and resignation. "I wish it never happened," Post said. "It was totally a nightmare." Bud lived quietly on $450 a month and food stamps until his death in 2006. Post frequently remarked that winning the lottery was more of a curse than a blessing. He believed that his sudden wealth had brought out the worst in people around him and ultimately led to his downfall. His story is a stark reminder that money cannot buy happiness and that sudden wealth can come with unforeseen challenges. Bud Post's tragic tale underscores the importance of financial literacy and careful planning. It highlights how crucial it is for lottery winners to seek professional advice and manage their newfound wealth wisely. His experience also serves as a cautionary tale about the impact of money on relationships and the potential for greed and betrayal to destroy lives. And while the dream of winning the lottery continues to captivate millions, these cautionary tales reveal the hidden pitfalls that can accompany sudden wealth.